What's up? It's George the Fragrance Press. Welcome back to the Indie Spotlight. Today we're going to be giving a quick look at Robert Graham's Fortitude. To me, honestly, this actually just reminds me of my friend Peter. The reason being is that this, when I first smelt it, reminded me of Egypt. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. At the time, I was actually playing the video game Assassin's Creed Origins, and it really got me interested into Egyptian culture, history. It's quite astounding, everything that went on back in the ancient times. People don't really understand how they did a lot of the things that they did. They don't understand how they built the pyramids completely. They don't understand how they created such modern marvels with such a lack of technology. And that was all on my mind when I first smelt this, and it just kind of took me there. I've never been to Egypt. I've always wanted to go. And it's the sand. There's a real sandy element to it. You can see a beautiful sandy vista with those camels, with the pyramids in tow. The warm, hot mystique of that whole area just comes to mind. It's the colour, the vividness of it all. Really is a picture painted with me on that. Now, this could be different for other people, but when I get this, when I smell this, I really do get the sandy sweetness. Now, there's actually quite a bit of spice, there's a bit of pepper, but that just adds to it. I could imagine that the sweetness is kind of the sweat on your brow as you're just trying your best to get through, the absolute torturous hot weather. And there's something ancient, especially with the design of the bottles. There's something very mysterious, the cogs, which relates to machinery, that could relate to the builders, that could relate to how they plan to move all of those huge blocks to make the pyramids. So that is kind of what's entrenched, and this is one of those things where that's probably not the intention of the fragrance, but that is something that is just kind of locked into my brain very easily and very clearly. There are elements of this fragrance that people will not like, especially on the dry down. I get a bit of a medicinal kind of scent, which I can live with because that is kind of rounded off by other different elements. But I'm just going to openly say this. I know that for some people that's going to smell a bit urinal cakey, that more medicinally citrus. It's not really citrus. It's like a greener tinge that's hitting off of those spices, and that might be unpleasant for some people. But they're a promising and interesting brand. They remind me kind of, they're like a similar ilk to 8 and Bob. And ironically, 8 and Bob have got a fragrance called Egypt, which is on a similar kind of idea, spectrum to this. It has a similar kind of note breakdown. It has that warm, sandy sweetness. It's the woods. It's the sandalwood. It's the cedar wood. It has all of those warming white wood elements knocked around with a few spices. It creates this very hot and very humid atmosphere that I really do enjoy positively. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I like about it. I had this in my winter top 10. And rightly so, it has incredible performance, does very well on skin, has that oily background that gives it a bit of oomph. It's pretty linear in a way, but I just really enjoy that little trip that it takes me on. I enjoy the warmth and the humidity that is brought to this. I didn't actually get a chance to wear this in spring and summer because my mind was, of course, on my more mainstream, set out, disciplined, habitual fragrances for that period of time. But I'd be intrigued to see how this works in the hotter weather, when I'm sweating, when things are hot and the degrees are higher. I think it could either thrive or it could not be very good at all, depending on the situation. But all in all, this is something that I do get a good enjoyment out of. As you can see, I've worn a little bit of it throughout these couple of years that I've had it. And there's just a little story that unfolds in front of me, and it is layered with mystery, with intrigue, and something very warming and something very appetizing to me. I'd love to know what Peter from Fragrance For You thinks, but actually I'm just going to give a little spoiler here. I know that he's kind of in the midst of making something of a similar ilk. I'm aware of that, and I know that it's actually better. That's all I'm going to say on that front. So maybe he might smell this, he might be impressed, but he could probably do something equally, if not 100 times better. That's not just me saying that. Anyway, if you like the sounds of this, then of course see if you can sample it out, see if you can try it out. But until I see you next time, I hope you're enjoying the Indie Spotlight and the Frame Sprays.